This is Back to Back.
Yo, what's up, back-to-backers? This is Willy Joy. Welcome to the show. This is Back to Back. This is my podcast. How is everybody doing, man? Happy 2019. You know, we put out the first episode on midnight of January 1st, 2019, the first episode of this year. But this feels a little more official. I feel like everybody's getting settled back in. I hope everybody out there has, broken whatever resolutions you made already, because those never work. And I hope you're just getting back into the groove, man, getting back into the routine. I always like the start of a new year. Everything feels fresh, and we're going to keep it fresh here on Back to Back as well. Brand new guests, brand new episodes. My guest on the show today is none other than Ghastly. And this is an episode I've been trying to put together forever. Our schedules have not been matching up. We finally found a good time, finally got it done. We just had a blast. You'll hear exactly what I'm talking about once the conversation starts. And look, Ghastly just got off tour for his Mystifying Oracle album, his debut album that dropped last year. If you haven't heard it yet, you gotta go grab that. And you need to keep your eyes peeled for his new EP that's going to be dropping very soon. He just dropped a new single with G-Rex. The song is called Heretic. I'm playing that on my SiriusXM radio show this week. And yeah, you got to be on the lookout for everything Ghastly's going to do this year. The link to where you can follow him, find all of his new music, is in the description of this episode. And we're going to get into that chat in just a minute. Before I do, I think we're going to have a lot of new listeners this year, especially with this episode. So if you're listening to this for the first time, I want to make sure you're subscribed to this show. Make sure to click that subscribe button on whatever platform you're using to listen. If you're on SoundCloud, just throw us the follow. That way, every single week, every single episode I post is going to get delivered straight to your device. No hassle. You don't have to worry about missing a single one. They're all free, all for you, every single week of this year. And if you are a new listener, if you're just checking in for the first time, definitely scroll back in the feed. Look at some of the old episodes. I can pretty much guarantee I've talked to some of your favorite artists already, with a lot more on the way. Right now, I'm actually thinking about a really early episode I did with Valentino Khan. And if you want to talk about somebody who's just on fire, somebody who just can't do anything wrong right now, you got to look at Valentino. He's one of my favorite producers in the game. And I think at the time when he came on this show, it was really the first time he had gotten to open up about his whole career, just the way he thinks about music. We both really enjoyed it. I still get people talking to me about it to this day. Definitely go check that one out and find some of your other favorites in there as well. It's well worth your time. In that spirit, also, don't forget to check out the Back to Bangers Spotify playlist. That's a playlist that I update every single week, and I always throw in a bunch of new music from my guests, from myself. I throw in music that we mention on the show, music that may have influenced some of your favorite artists, just some brand new stuff you might not have heard, some classics, and the link to that is also in the description of this episode. I want to hear from everybody out there too, so make sure to hit me up. My email is backtobackpod@gmail.com, or you can hit me up on all social media @WillyJoy or @backtobackpod. Send me your questions, your comments, your concerns. Let me know what you're up to, how you're doing. Send me some new music, and I love talking to everybody out there. So, for this conversation with Ghastly, like I said at the beginning, we've been trying to set this up for forever. And finally, we both had a little time off right before the new year. I went over to his place in LA. I was stoked for that. I'd actually never been over to his place before. And if you know anything about Ghastly, you might know that he's pretty well known for owning some big snakes, owning some weird reptiles. I went over, found a giant snake in his bathroom, fed a worm to his gecko. You'll hear me kind of joking about it at the start. And we were just off to the races, man. Basically, from the time I hit record, even before I hit record, we were laughing, joking, easy conversation all over the map. He's such an entertaining guy, and he just has the craziest story. From growing up on a farm, being homeless, living out of a van for a while, sort of burning out of the music industry his first time around, making a second attempt, coming back strong, and building on everything he learned into the Ghastly project as we know it now. It's an impressive story. Through it all, he's kind of been able to maintain this super positive attitude, and you'll hear me asking him all about that. I'm always curious about how his brain works. And after this, I think you'll have a better idea of how it works too. I mean, from super, super serious to, just really ridiculous. Yeah, this was a fun one. And like I said before, Ghastly just dropped a new track with G-Rex called Heretic. It's off of an upcoming EP that he's putting together. The link to where you can go get all of his tour dates, all of his music, all of that is in the description of this episode. Last thing before I start this conversation off, if you get to the end of this episode and you like what you heard, if you're enjoying this show, I get asked the question a lot, how can I support this? How can I help out? And I'm here to let you know the best way you can support this show is just by telling a friend about Back to Back. We're a community-based show. I don't really pay for advertising, so the way this show grows is really word of mouth. And every time we do grow, that means we get more resources to make the show better for all of you. We can get better guests, bigger names, everybody you want to hear from. So if you want to support me, just tell a friend that you know loves music about this show. Or you could put up a post about us, let people know you're enjoying the show. You could retweet something that I put up. Whatever you want to do, it does all help. I do see everyone's posts. It makes me super stoked, super excited to start working on the next week's episode. I'm always thankful for the support out there. So with that being said, it's time to get into today's episode. I hope everybody's ready. This one is a wild ride. This is me and Ghastly, back to back. Let's go. I half expected to walk in to find a giant snake. Well, my impression of your life is just that constantly.
If you had looked to the right, you would have. Literally.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's in the bathroom. He's too fucking big to put him in a cage. He's 7.5 feet long.
Oh my God.
So I just let him roam around. He does whatever he wants, pretty much. I keep the place, because the loft itself is about 45% humidity at all times, which is exactly what boas need, about 50, 60. And plus I have... Plus, in the bathroom's 60% humidity, which is why he hangs out in there a lot of the time.
Okay.
But yeah.
So what's the, first of all, how long have you had an 8-foot python in this place?
He's a boa.
Oh, boa, sorry.
No, it's fine. I don't care. I'm just clarifying.
No, I want to be accurate.
I've had him for over a year and a half now, almost 2 years now.
Wow.
Almost 2 years.
So almost the whole time you've been here in this apartment.
Yeah, I've had the pythons. I've had them for well over 2 years now. So I've definitely had them since I got here.
Wow.
And I'm gonna have them for another 22 years probably.
Jesus, really?
They live a really long time. Yeah,
that's amazing.
So probably my kids are probably gonna hang out with them one day, assuming I have kids in the next 10 years, which I'm kind of okay with and kind of terrified of at the same time.
I mean, you might already have some, man.
You're right. No, I've been waiting for it, man. I'm not even joking. I've been waiting for that phone call where it's like, hey, remember me? Oh, fuck.
Yeah. Just a little
10
picture
years
of a
later.
tiny you. Yeah.
No, it's gonna be in 18 years, this fucking kid looks just like me. He's gonna come up to my door and be like, nope, get the fuck out of here. Turn around, go back from whence you came. He's like, that's where I am. I'm like, fuck that, try again.
Oh my God. Are your neighbors aware that they're living next to all these reptiles?
Oh yeah, they're terrified of it. Yeah, they hate it because I'll walk out with and it's so funny. Actually, just the other night, right when I got back, I had a few friends over, just to how would you put it? Nightcap a whole weekend, a nightcap for a whole weekend of traveling.
Absolutely.
And they and like one of my buds is just like, dude, like I love you, man, but I fucking hate these reptiles. It's like, dude, just try it. And I kept on, just like layering him with more snakes.
Yeah.
And he kept on getting more petrified of the situation. I got to laugh on the inside, it was great.
Well, because I mean, my understanding is, most, maybe not most, but many breeds, I mean, they're super chill, right? Like as long as you're chill, they're chill.
90% of them.
Yeah.
90% of them are totally harmless and have nothing against humans at all.
Yeah.
And of that 10%, only 5% of their venom is actually like really, really lethal.
Like a problem,
there's some like the Asian vine snake, which I plan on getting pretty soon. They also call it the judgmental shoelace because its face, it literally looks like it's judging you. Its eyes are like squinty.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's just checking
I don't
you
know
out
about this guy. But if those bite you, all you get, and it takes about 5 bites and you become immune. But for the first 5 bites, you just feel like you ate way too much McDonald's.
Really?
Yeah, that's all it feels like. So you just feel like shit, and you're just like, oh, fuck, for like an hour or two, and then it goes away.
So what is it with reptiles in general, and especially about ones that, might be aggressive or have the ability to harm you? Like, what is that draw for you that you like having those around?
I don't know, man.
Like, why not a dog?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of it comes from being appealed to what's taboo. And as a kid growing up, I was raised very, theological Christian and all that shit. And, I was always taught snakes are Satan, snakes are Satan. I was always like, oh, I can't like these things that I really think are awesome.
Interesting. So you kind of like went hard the other way once you were on your own.
I think I'm just kind of, I like I don't want to get on a spiritual kick or anything, but I'm in my own world as far as, theological religions are concerned.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, right behind you, I'm staring at a giant goat skull sort of pentagram.
But to me, it's just cool art.
Right, of course.
I think that like a lot of evil art, evil symbolism, it's beautiful, just like horror movies. I love
I'm
horror
right there
movies,
with you, man.
Like I can be entertained by something and not believe in every single thing it stands for,
Absolutely. And it's fun to lean into it too.
But I digress a little bit just to answer the snake question. It was definitely an appeal that they're just badass. They're totally misunderstood. They're actually really incredible creatures, and a lot of people won't even go near them. They won't give them a chance. They'll give their ex-girlfriend 10,000 chances after she drains their bank account and ruins their life and scars their memories. But they see a snake one time, they're like, oh, whoa, I won't trust that. I mean, this thing I've never met before or held in my entire life that clearly brings you joy, fuck that shit,
Oh, I love that, man. I love it. Like a passion for me that I probably should talk about more is endangered wildlife and conservation and that kind of thing. That's a big passion of mine. And so there's a bunch of either underappreciated or just like animals that people just are ignorant about, like 100%. Just don't know about, that I get super passionate about.
I totally feel you, man.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Can I give you a hot take?
Yes.
On when it comes to doing trophy hunting in Africa? You know how you have these fucking rich douchebags who go out there, pay like a solid $5 million to shoot a tiger.
They're the only people in the world that I think I could murder and then just live normally afterwards.
Well, and I feel
maybe I shouldn't have said this.
No, you're good. I totally understand. You clearly don't have the capability to murder. You're too nice, but it's all in the words. But I think what it comes down to is the testing and the statistics are in, and it turns out that having trophy killing actually saves more of these creatures than it kills, because if we let the system run rampant as it is in Africa and all these places where these endangered species are being hunted for their skins or their tusks or their whatever, when we let it run rampant, then they die so much more. But because of these trophy hunting companies, half of the money that they make goes towards protecting these animals, because they are an investment for them now. So now, because of trophy hunting, it's actually brought the mass slaughter of all these endangered animals down like tenfold.
Yeah,
because they get to protect them with the money that they make from having one rich dentist shoot one. You know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a complicated.
It's fucked up.
Well, it's a complicated issue, man. And
either way, we shouldn't be killing them. But.
Right. And I've heard that argument, and I think also it's just a reflection of the dark times we live in. The problem is
we're barely, in my opinion, man, we're barely getting out of the forest.
Oh yeah.
As an evolutionary species, like. Just because we have smartphones, that's nothing, man. When you look at our footprint compared to the universe as a whole, how long it's been around, we're a fucking fraction of the time span.
And we don't have to go too far down this route, but the way things are going the way things are going these days, like I don't even know if we're gonna make it, man. It's
we'll get to it as long as we got Elon Musk type thinkers out there who, they know that the goal of humankind is to move beyond planet Earth. This is just the starting gate.
Right.
This is us just
figuring shit out. I think that's the real question, right?
Hopefully we don't detonate the building before we figure out how to get out of it.
Do we get to the chopper before it burns down?
We're working on it, man. I think we have, we are smarter than we've ever been, and we're also stupider than we've ever been at the same exact time. Like, we got some of the most incredible thinkers in the entire history of mankind, and we also have Cash Me Outside. How about that?
Right. It's true, man. It's true. And I think, too, like, the older I get and the more of the world I see, I start to understand that, like, really no one knows what we're doing and that we're all just kind of doing the best that we can. And so it is reassuring to know that there are some people out there working on these things. And that, right? Even if it's not me, I can at least learn from them and try to make it a little better.
You found your point. You found your place in the world.
Absolutely.
You make people happy. That's your job.
Absolutely.
That's your.
Is that how you look at making music?
For sure.
For real. Like, is that
for sure?
Yeah.
You're contributing to culture, and you're giving people something to relate to that makes them feel less lonely, and you're giving them soundtracks that help that are the themes of their lives, and like that's our contribution. That happiness could make someone inspired to do something great in our world. Like how many times have you heard a song that just made you feel such a certain way that you had to do something in your life that kind of reflected how it made you feel,
right?
Whether it be creating something or doing something for someone or what have you.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been a lot of moments in my life where music, this is such a corny thing to say and so overused, but it was like where I felt like I could see through the matrix with music. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't say that was corny. I think I could
people
fully...
People say that shit all the time.
That's actually the first time I've heard it worded that way. I'm going to tell you that right now.
All right, good. That's good. Maybe it's just me. But no, man, I mean, yeah, it has the ability to sort of change my brain in a way that most things don't.
Yeah.
Was it that way for you? Like, did music help you at a young age, or did it inspire you or make you happy?
By fucking far, man. The first thing that comes to mind is that song by
Chumbawamba, Tub Thumping.
I get knocked down, but I get up again. You ain't never gonna keep me down. That shit fucking I took that shit to heart as a kid.
You felt that, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, that's right, you knocked me down. But I didn't take it in like the emotional, like, business sense. I took it as just like getting physically knocked over. Like,
right.
Damn right, I'm going to get back.
Were you getting a lot of fights as a kid?
No. It was, a few. Quite a few, actually. Never mind. I retract that. Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So it's really just inspiration to go train harder. Yeah. Well, okay, so wait. I know some about where you came from. I know you grew up on a farm, right?
Yeah.
And where was that farm?
I was in, it was just southwest of Phoenix in an area called Tolleson.
Okay.
But then we migrate just before the big house market crash. There was also a dairy market crash happening at the exact same time.
Great timing.
They were happening at the exact same time. And so we had housing and dairy market. And my
dairy a big product for the farm?
Huge. Oh, man. We had 650 cows, like 200 chickens, 100 goats, 100 sheep.
Wow.
Tons of these creatures. And we realized that we were about to go fully bankrupt if we tried to ride this wave because it was going down. It was a sinking ship. And right when we sold it, that's when the housing market crash really fucking kicked in. So we moved out to Buckeye, Arizona, where we had less creatures, but we had more profit because we had more control of it. When you have and plus goats. It was cow milk, which was really losing. This is shit that like a lot of people probably don't care about.
No, this is super interesting though. Yeah. Well, because goat's milk is like more. It's harder to find, right? Like
harder to find, more expensive,
rare,
and it's richer, and all of it's like it's mineral, not mineral, vitamin properties, things like this. You know, all the vitamin D and all that nonsense. But it was growing up on a farm definitely taught me a lot. And I think it instilled a lot of business tactics in me at a very young age, super young age. You know, watching my pops be this entrepreneur where we struggled like a lot. Like a lot of my childhood was struggle financially.
Well, how old were you like when this crash was happening and things were looking dark for the farm?
I was like 13.
Okay.
But
it had always been tough. To kind of understand.
It had always been tough. Like, I just didn't know it was tough as a kid because my parents never brought it home.
Right.
You know, anything that granted, it was at the same place. But, you know, like when they were on the farm, that's where they stressed out when they came home. They just tried to, you know, like give us a normal, you know, upbringing. Don't let us worry about it.
Put on a good face.
They never once were like, you know how much this costs, you know, because putting that kind of a thought into a kid's head is a really, honestly, I think it's a emotionally damaging prerequisite to put in a kid's head, you know? Just let them fucking grow up first. So.
Well, it can be tough, man. I mean, I definitely know people who grew up poor and
I
knew
feel
it.
for them, for sure.
You know, and if the parents are able to kind of shield your kids from that, I mean, that's a service. Like, shout out to all those parents, man. And
I think there's a lot of homeless parents that pull it off beautifully. They
I'm
have
sure
kids
that's
with them,
true.
you know, and they just let them have these beautiful lives. These kids look happy as hell. They look happier than the fucking Beverly Hills kid who got an iPhone 8 instead of an iPhone X,
right.
You know?
I mean, attitude is everything, man, for sure.
Straight up.
Well, and for you, like, what kind of so if you're growing up on a farm, I assume like small town life, if even that, like
to a degree.
Yeah.
We were still kind of close to Phoenix. I still got to see like an idea of a city, but when I'd see things like when I watched Home Alone and I saw New York, I was like, what the fuck is that? What is this place? There's like fiction. All these people, these buildings. What are they doing?
I mean,
where's their fucking flock?
Yeah.
You know?
I don't see any goats. It's bullshit. Well, I mean, what kind of a kid were you? Like, what culture were you surrounded with? Even what kind of other kids were around? What was school like?
I think my brother did a lot of that for me. You know,
older brother?
My older brother, yeah, he was 10 years older than me, and it was when I was about 9 or 8 years old is when he went into the military. But for those 8 years, he would always show me things like Megadeth, Metallica, AC/DC, Black Sabbath, all these things that were really taboo in our house because, like I said earlier, Christian upbringing. But those things always appealed to me the most because I wasn't allowed to like them. And, you know, I'll never forget when my parents found my my metal collection, all my hair metal, all my whatever. They broke every single one of the CDs in half, and they threw them in the garbage. And they're like, you need to look in the garbage. You need to see where that stuff belongs. Wow. And I looked in the garbage, and I didn't see garbage. I saw, if this shit can make people feel this serious about it, then it obviously has power.
Yeah.
I saw power in that garbage can. I saw the ability to affect people on a deep level.
Man. And again, was this around like 12, 13 years old? Man, yeah. It's funny because I had not at all the same, but sort of on the similar wavelength. I was super into metal when I was a kid. And I think I'm a little older than you. And for me, when I was around that age, it was like White Zombie and Marilyn Manson were like just starting to come out. And the reaction from parents was totally the same. Like they were just like, this is all satanic. This is corrupting our youth. All of that.
It's causing all these horrible things to happen.
And my parents, like, I mean, I'm Jewish, but it wasn't a super religious household. And so they weren't like telling me you can't listen to this. I'm sure they probably had concerns.
Sure.
But what I remember about was exactly the same way. The first concert I ever went to was White Zombie. And before the band went on stage, they played a clip of the local news telling parents not to let your kids go to the concert.
Good branding, man.
Oh, it was incredible. Yeah, it was just like they're doing the work for these artists.
Yeah, straight up. Straight up. Do you think that they saw that and they're like, oh, dude, they're totally destroying our wholesome brand.
Yeah, no, dude, it's gold.
Slipknot's just like, damn it.
Yeah.
We're going to lose all of these Midwest Christian Bible thumpers. They're all going to hate us. No.
It's gold, man. I mean, you even see it with like the shit we do now. Like if you lean into bad press, it's just kind of press, right?
Yeah, I mean, I agree and I disagree at the same time. I think
I'm not saying it's healthy.
Right,
but
right.
I'm not saying anyone talking about you is always good. I'm just saying like if you see sort of something silly about you, it's sometimes to me it's more fun to just like lean into that.
Oh, and that brings me back to Catch Me Outside Girl. 100%. Like, that's a clear sign of bad press was good press. Because now she's gotta deal with Atlantic Records.
Yeah, man,
like,
it's wild.
You know?
She's on tour. She's selling tickets. It's
and
you know
I got nothing against that. I got zero against that.
And
you played the game and you found a cheat code.
Honestly, I don't know if you like followed her after all that shit happened, but like I have to be honest, some of the new music I've heard, I was like, it's not bad.
Yeah,
it's not bad.
No, I'll agree. She's got some great producers behind her, and they're doing great work with, like they're teaching her. You know, there's no way that she just came out of the gate and had this musical genius.
Oh, of course not.
You don't see it in her background. You don't see it in any of her past
Of course
creations.
not. No, and I mean, so clearly that's the work of a good team.
It's a great team.
That.
Exactly.
But even that,
gotta give credit to them.
I'll give respect to that too, man. I mean, God, you know, especially in what we do, which is so image conscious and branding conscious.
Everything about it.
I mean, the team can make or break people. You know?
Yeah.
Your team, I would say, is maybe one of the most effective teams historically in the last few years of kind of, you know, figuring out a way to take somebody who's already very talented or somebody who's already kind of buzzing or
who has an idea but just needs it to be realized.
Right. Yeah. I mean, for you, I don't know if that applies so much to you as to sort of other people in your sphere, because I think you've always kind of had like an aesthetic to you, even if it wasn't a conscious thing.
Right.
And I think your music has always been pretty cohesive.
Yeah.
I mean, how much of that, well, maybe that's a good question. Like from when you started to now, was it sort of a planned thing? Did you have a vision in your head back then? And do you have one now?
No, I don't think I ever had a plan, dude. This whole fucking project was off of a fucking whim. Yeah. When I moved into my van and just said, hey, let's see if this works. I never knew what I was doing. The envisionment came from knowing where I wanted to see it go and just trusting in the process.
Where did you want to see it go?
What
was the goal starting off?
The goal starting off was just being able to, live, be able to pay rent.
Yeah.
That's all I really wanted. And then, I've worked so much since that, and now my goal is far beyond the eye can see, and I think that's where all goals should lie.
Right.
Because
it's always a moving
even if
target.
you don't reach that furthest extent of your goal, you're going to get much closer than if you had chose something more realistic that was closer.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And I think in pursuing sort of a far-fetched or a far-off goal, what will happen is along the way, all these other things will come along, all these other opportunities you wouldn't have even thought about. And yeah, man, I'm with you 100% on that.
For sure.
So, I mean, you mentioned like moving into the van, but I want to take it back even before that. So, I mean, you're on the farm, you're growing up, you're working on the farm, right, at a young age?
Yeah.
And
they put me to work right away.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I would do if I had kids. You're my slaves. I feed you. You fucking do all the work.
Well, and I mean, it's worth saying, not that I've lived this life, but working on a farm is fucking hard work, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's an everyday...
It's outside in the Arizona heat, buzzing... Flies were the worst part by far.
Really?
I'll take all of the physical labor, but the flies, this goes right in your ear. And it just happens like 50 times in the last 2 minutes.
Oh man.
It'll make a sane man go mad for sure.
Fuck, dude. Yeah. That's like one of my pet peeves.
I told him over and over, I was like, I could work here forever. Just figure out how to kill all of the flies. I can't do that. There's like literally billions of them.
Well, and so
just in this radius.
Yeah, it's just impossible. and so, I mean, did you like sort of that lifestyle, or did it make you kind of did you want to get out and see the world?
I'd say both.
I'd
say both, because I loved the lifestyle, having all this room to like run around and like, chase chickens and run around with my dogs and shit like that. That that was really fun as a kid. But it also, like you said, made me want to see like what else the world had, because we would have field trips come in.
Yeah.
Kids from all over, even out of state would come.
Oh, just to like tour the farm?
Yeah, we would give them field trips. That was one of my jobs. I was a guide.
Oh, wow.
And so I would be like, 10 years old with like a group of like 200 people. Or it's probably less. And I'm thinking about it in my childhood head. It looked like that. It was probably more around like 40 or something.
Yeah.
But I had all those people with me. I'd be like, this is an Americana chicken, and it lays green eggs. And that's one of the places where we get green eggs in ham.
Yeah.
But chickens don't make ham. Pigs make ham. Because chickens make and having all these people around me, just like, we're really getting a tour guide from a fucking 10-year-old right now. Yeah. I had no, but it was healthy for me. But
of course.
But I got to see so many different kinds of people, and seeing different kinds of people makes you know that there's more kinds of places.
Well, and you mentioned like watching Home Alone and seeing something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And so did that. Like, I'm just curious for you if it was like, just like a curiosity, like, oh, what's out there? Or did where you were start to feel small,
I think it was a drive. Like, I wanted, I did not only want, I needed to see it. I wanted to know what the world was like. And that has changed my perspective on reality more than anything else, man, is like going to these countries that have completely different rules, completely different financial systems and value.
Right.
And
cultural systems.
Cultural systems are just vastly beyond different than ours. Like, there was one country I went to where they literally had this drainage system for where they held their public executions. They had a drainage system for where all the blood would go. And it's just like, seeing something like that really caught me off guard. I was like, wow, I'm currently in a place where, it's a family gathering to, see someone get executed. And that was, one of those huge, like, cultural whiplashes where you're just like, holy fuck. Like,
where was that? Do you want to say?
I'd rather not,
okay,
just to be friendly to them. Because, like, I'm sure there's a lot of people in their culture who don't like that.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
I'm sure. Especially the people who are on the other side of that.
Yeah. So, but no, man, experience, I don't think I've seen something that extreme, but you're right that it does change your whole perspective. Like, I remember the first time I went to Japan, which is like, Japan's often talked about as like one of the most sort of just foreign cultures you can go to where everything is different, And,
they live in the future.
Yeah, basically.
Fully live in the future.
Absolutely, man. and it's so insane to just, step off a plane, see all these people living their lives, and to realize that while you've been living your life this whole time.
This whole entire culture has been in full-fledged form.
Yeah.
This whole time.
Yeah.
and right now, they're breathing the same air. And it's just so crazy. And if I was president, the only thing that I would implement, and then I would just get the fuck out of there and let someone else run that shit, because I don't got the ego to be the guy who's in charge of the world. I'd rather kick it.
Yeah, I feel that.
But the one thing I would change would be to have every single person, like getting your ID. Once you turn 18, you have to go to a foreign country. Yeah. Here's a list of them. It'll be paid for by the government. You need to know what the world is like.
Yeah, man.
It is so important to see, like kids who will have the time of their life, having nothing but a stick and a ball and bare feet in the streets. I've seen some of the happiest people in the world in places where there was less money. And then you take a walk through some of these, hyper rich cultures like ours, where you see people unhappy no matter how much they have.
Absolutely, man. We even in what we do, we know lots of those people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's another funny part of it all, too, is, we're talking about, like, how the goalposts keep moving and we're always ambitious and trying to get more, but it's somewhere in there, it's like a separate goal you have to figure out how to be happy with all of it,
Oh, dude, who had a great statement on that was Alan Watts. He compared life to a song. But we treat it right now, our culture treats it as a race. We're all trying to get to the end of this finish line, you know, like after you get out of grade school, you go to high school. After high school, you go to college. After college, then you get the job. After you get the job, you get the promotion. After the promotion, you get that house. And, you know, it's almost there. You're almost there. Keep coming, keep coming. Happiness is almost here. And the whole time we're in this race to, you know, get to this happiness. But we're missing the whole fucking point. Life is a song. The whole point of a song isn't the end of the song; it's the meaning of the song. It's a dance. We're all forgetting to dance. No matter how much you want in life, you need to remember to dance with what you got right now, and that's what the whole fucking point is.
Yeah, 100. I love that, man. 100%.
Yeah, Alan Watts is a genius. Really changed my perspective on a lot of things.
And that's one of those things that I couldn't agree more with. But then it's so hard to just implement in your everyday life.
Because you want more. You always want more because it will make you happier once you get it. But the point, getting to that point, like I remember when I thought to myself, as soon as music works for me, I'll never be sad again. And I could not have been more wrong. It does not matter where you are in your life. It does not matter how successful you are. Sadness is a natural human emotion that happens to everyone at every financial and cultural level.
And this is something I've been talking to a lot of people about recently because I've been thinking a lot about mental health in our industry. And
it's a big topic these days.
Man, it could not be more important
I'm kind
of
glad, you know, like I do hate hearing the word mental health thrown around so rambunctiously to the point where it could lose its meaning.
Right. You don't want it to become like a trend.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
I feel that. I feel that.
But the fact that we're opening up about it is really cool.
Yeah, I think so too, man. And it's the one thing I've always said is that if you're a person who comes into this game with existing issues, like if you're already a little emotionally unstable or if you're a little depressed or a little anxious, whatever it may be, like it will find those chinks in the armor and it can get so much worse if you don't handle it. And if you think that handling it is just becoming more successful.
You could not be more wrong.
Could
not be more wrong.
I don't know, man.
I still got like these notes that I'd write myself back when I first started, like, you know, like, remember who you are and keep your head in the clouds and on the ground. Yeah, no, I mean, like, I'm definitely aware of it. You know, I think you start. It's right after childhood. You're like, man, shit kind of sucks.
Yeah. You're like, what changed?
Yeah, you have this whole thing where it's like, wow, look, there's clouds. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And then one day you're like, fuck. Yeah. Now I have to use pieces of green paper with dead people on them so I can get things that I need to go places that I don't want to go. Fuck.
Yeah. Or even just like give those pieces of paper to somebody else so I can stay where I am.
Yeah, like, exactly. Just so I can sleep.
Yeah. Fuck, man.
Yeah.
So for you, you know, we're talking about like the track you're on, the goalposts, all that shit, and you're supposed to go to school, you're supposed to go to college, blah, 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 get a job. At what point did you deviate from that path? Like, was there a thought that you would go on to college and all that?
I went to college. I signed up for my first year, and I quit after 6 months.
Okay.
I went, and I'll give it to you like this, man. I learned how to draw in my meteorology class, okay? That's where I learned how to actually, like, draw decent pictures.
Right.
Was because I was so fucking bored with the difference between a cirrus cloud and a
cumulus.
And a cumulus and all this shit. And I was just like, all right. And then when they started trying to tell me how wind worked, I got kind of pissed off. I was like, don't fucking ruin the secrets for me, man. It's Mother Nature, and she's blowing on us, okay? That's what's happening. I don't want to fucking know how the wind works.
Right.
I need a little bit of mystery in my life, you know? I'm definitely aware that is like some ignorant shit, but ignorance is bliss on that one.
Ignorance is absolutely bliss in a lot of ways, man. And do you think part of that too is maybe coming from like a religious upbringing, where like, and I'm not.
Hey, you might be right.
I'm not trying to.
No, you're good. No, that's a good observation. You could be right. I'm not sure. I've never thought about it, but
and I'm not trying to like pit a like religion versus science thing, but all I'm saying is like, you know, if you're from any kind of background where there's some amount of faith and some of it is taken on like, you know, this is just something we believe.
You really do. But as I think about it more, I think it could have been a percentage, but a majority of it came from actually, liking mystery, because I like magic, I like ghosts, and like, although I don't 100% believe in either of them, I still like to believe in, like there are things that we will never understand or see or comprehend through our basic. We don't even use 10%. That's been disproven, right? It's
some
more.
Very small.
It's actually more. They proved that it was more.
It's more than 10%, but it's still like not half, right?
I'm not sure. I'd like to look it up. But
maybe one of the listeners can write in and let us know.
Yeah, I know it's more though. I just can't remember the exact number, but. I digress. All I'm saying is the fact that, like, I like to, I'm sure you do too, have this at least kind of a belief that there's so much more about life that we'll never understand that we can't see with our eyes,
And for you, did you see school, college, that is, as a means to an end, or were you just kind of like going down that track like you thought you were supposed to?
I was just following where all the people were telling me to go. I didn't know what to think for myself at that point. I knew what I wanted. I knew I wanted to do something artistic for a living.
Were you musically involved at all by that point?
Oh, yeah. I had been in like 5 bands at that point, started several solo projects.
Okay.
And I was in a band at that point. My most successful metal band. We were still touring at that time.
But that was the Irish Front.
Yeah,
right?
the Irish Front.
Yeah.
And we were still touring around at that time. But
so wait, when did that start? Like the serious band?
Oh, when I was 16.
Okay.
Till I was 20, and that's when it all started to go downhill around 19. Because once we got a taste of success. We got kind of lazy. We stopped working as hard, but I still really wanted everything to work, so I kept on, pushing really hard. Like I was the booking agent, the manager, the guy who drove the van, the guy who set up the practices. I also funded like all of our musical instruments.
Oh wow!
Like and we didn't really have the money for it, but
right, of course, but you make it work,
like,
man.
Mom, Dad, this is the only thing that I really care about now. Can you please? And
I mean that's amazing too, man, because. You guys were fairly successful for a minute in my understanding of it, right?
Fairly.
Like
I would say fairly.
You did like
we never like
you were on Warped Tour or something, right?
We did a few of those, and we did 2 national tours and all this nonsense. It was fun.
Yeah,
it was fun.
It's funny, man. I had Tanner Getter on this show, and he was talking about the Irish Front.
Oh yeah, Did he tell you the story about San Jose?
I don't know if it was San Jose. He told me the story of meeting you, where he like didn't realize that you had been the singer of like one of his favorite bands.
He didn't tell you when he came to our show.
Oh no.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I know what he's talking about.
Wait, what was that story though?
So when we played at this place in San Jose called the San Jose Skate Rink or something like that. It's like some skate rink where they were, like metal was going off and, can we rent your skate rink? We'll just bring in some metal kids. They would do it. They didn't care. Yeah. So like, super rink-a-dink shows thrown into these random places and we show up and then, Tanner's in the mosh pit just like going in, just like fucking everyone. We're just doing the whole show, just like fucking breakdowns going crazy. And then at the end, he's like, yo, man, I love the show. And that's when I met him. That was the first time I met him was when he was there fucking headbanging. But like, this was before he was Getter.
Right. Did you remember later, like, that you had met him?
Yeah, I remember meeting him for sure. But it was when he came up and said hi to me at EDC where I was like, wait, you're Getter? He's like, wait, you're David from Irish? It was a crazy moment.
That's insane, dude. And so, I mean, you got a taste of tour life super young. And if you're saying that you were doing all this shit, then you must have had at least some idea of the business side of it too.
Yeah,
all before you're 20, man. I mean, that's kind of insane in and of itself. It did help a lot.
It really did help a lot because, like, we were doing it like the hardest way you could. Now it's so lax. Taking an airplane to Miami where they have a hotel for you. That's
people who weren't in
so
bands.
easy.
I don't think you can ever understand.
Exactly. No, we didn't have a driver. We got in our van. We had our trailer. We drive for hours on it. I would drive for hours and hours and on end. Sleep in the van usually because we didn't have enough money for a hotel.
Man.
Our payment between fucking 5 people would be like $150 and a pizza.
Yeah.
We were not making shit. All the money we made came from merchandising, so we had to be good at branding our merch.
Right.
That was where like all of the bands were making the most of their money. And, that definitely helped me get a keen understanding of, branding and also just being tooth and nail gritty and just fucking getting it down and just doing it.
And so how did electronic music come into the picture there? Like, was that something you were also aware of at the time, or did it kind of come to you separately?
Very separately. Because I love death metal. It's like all I listened to. But I always had a heart for like, good dance music. And these are going to sound like the most cliche things ever, but I wasn't searching for it. It was things like, Sandstorm, Mortal Kombat, I'm Blue, fucking like
the Jock
Vanga
Jams
Boys,
shit.
the Jock Jams, all that shit, And the Jock Jams, that is thank you.
All the shit that gets played at like a basketball game.
Yeah. It's do rock. Okay. But so that I always had a heart for like good beats, but I just didn't understand how they were made, so it didn't interest me. It seemed like too much work, and I was too busy with the metal band. But as I got older, I got more interested in it, and then I heard of Reason. And when I saw my drummer was actually messing around in Reason, I was like, wait, you can just draw beats in? Because before I would just take a keyboard that had a drum beat inside of it and just record that into like my Microsoft tower through the microphone input into Audacity.
Yeah, and then try to play over that, unquantized.
That's where I understood layers and shit. That's where layers kind of came into play. And then, knowing that I could, create a song with just one keyboard, I found that so interesting. Instead of, 6 people, 5 people, whatever.
Sure. Well, and if you were the one trying to sort of hold everything together with the band too, that must have been stressful. It must have been nice to just control everything.
Exactly. It felt good to be in control. Yeah, 100%. But then when the band started getting a little bit sour, we weren't doing any practices. I started to just really want to make something different and new, and that it was right around that time when I went to my first rave, where a couple of my friends were just like, dude, just come on, just try it out just one time. I was like, oh, I don't know, it sounds weird. Like everyone's wearing tutus, I don't get it. I was just an outsider. I just didn't understand the culture. And after one night, okay, this shit was fucking crazy. All right. So I went all by myself to this thing called Bloodfest in
love it already.
It was gnarly. It was like mid-October. And as soon as I walk inside, like everyone is just covered in blood with like white contacts, and they're all just like dressed like these creatures, and it's just terrifying. And I was super high. I was super fucking high. I think it was on mushrooms.
Sure.
And
that's not going to help anything.
It actually made it more awesome. Because I love horror movies.
Right.
So I'm taking it in. I'm seeing the dark art of it. I'm getting it. And then I'm hearing hardstyle the whole time, and like gabber too, like fucking like 180 BPM.
That was my first rave too. Was all gabber.
I was just like, what the fuck is this? Like the only time I'd ever heard DJ play anything was at like weddings and like karaoke bars.
Right.
It was always like Love Shack, yeah. Just like, all right, whatever. So to hear a DJ playing this fucking really aggressive music I had never heard before, it totally captivated me. It was right around that time this fucking this guy dressed up as the Grim Reaper is holding a scythe, and he gets put on this like this high riser that like brings him up. And as it brings him up, he goes up. What's the word? Anyway. And there's like this black tarp across the roof.
Yeah.
And he takes the scythe and he slashes it open, and blood just spills all over
Jesus
like
Christ.
2,000 people. And I was just like, what the fuck? It was blowing my mind. So
the
like
literal like blood rave scene from Blade.
Straight out of it, man. The only thing they were missing was the sprinklers. Sprinklers and people actually getting
and Wesley Snipes
murdered by vampires. Yeah. But that shit opened my mind, man. After that, I was just like, wow, like there's a whole world here that I ain't never heard of, you know? And then I started getting into dance music. I started looking up, like house music acts, hardstyle acts,
like
dubstep
what year
acts.
Approximately is this happening?
This is like 2009, 2008, 2009.
Yep.
I was still in the band, but I was experimenting. But yeah, that shit opened my mind up to it, man. And then when I started, really getting into it, started really figuring out like the way it's composed, that's when I started, trying for it, really trying to figure it out.
And so what did that look like for you? At a certain point, did you kind of just tell the band, like, I have this other thing, I'm going to go do this?
Well, I told them, I was like, all right, you guys, I'm going to try this one more time. We're going to have a practice on this day. If you guys don't make it, I'm quitting. I told them all that multiple times. It was like, if you guys don't all make it, we all agree on this time, right? They're like, yep. They didn't make it. So I was like, that's it. And they're like, no, dude, let's try one more time. I was like, I fucking did that. I did that. And so I just packed up all my shit, drove out. I was like, bye, Mom, bye, Dad, I'm out of here. I'm going to go try this out.
What are your parents thinking all through this time? Like,
I was insane.
Yeah.
I was insane because I was a bad kid. I got arrested a lot. And I was kind of, I never got arrested for anything bad, just like
but you were just getting in trouble all the time.
Vandalism, public drinking, a lot of vandalism.
Yeah.
That was fun.
I mean, I'm looking at your wall over there. It's fairly vandalized.
My wall's totally vandalized right now. Yeah. But yeah, so they were like, oh, David, here he goes. He's gonna try to do something fucked up now, like he always does.
I mean, were they basically just kind of like hands off at that point? Like he'll figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I was of age, and I was like, this is something I really want to do. And they're like, all right, well, we're not gonna support you. We'll pay your phone bill for a while. After that, you got to figure it out for yourself.
Yeah.
I do appreciate that because that phone bill saved my ass.
Oh, yeah.
It did. Without that, I don't know what I would have done, honestly.
Yeah.
I really don't. But they let me do whatever I want ultimately. They had faith.
Right.
But you could sense some doubt, like you should naturally.
Of
like
course.
a lot of people do naturally.
Oh, yeah. I mean, your
like,
son getting in a van and being like, bye, guys.
I'm going to go to LA.
I think any parent would be
DJ.
concerned.
They're like, all right.
So, I mean, is that literally you just got in the van, you drove to LA kind of with no further plan beyond that?
The only plan I had, the only thing that I had in place for me was I had been I got a modeling contract.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah, I didn't have any fucking retail skills or anything like that. I knew that would be hard to get. So I was like, fuck it, I'll use my stupid ass mug and put myself on some fucking posters or whatever. And I did like a Coca-Cola commercial. I did a lot of music video things.
Oh, wow.
I did a lot of, you can find me in some weird music videos.
I had no idea, but that makes a lot of sense,
It helped a lot for if like the Coca-Cola thing, they put me on a billboard in Russia because they thought I looked Russian. Yeah, I was like, all right, sure. Yeah. But they were fucking mean, man. They're mean. That's why it was terrible. Oh, I hated it.
The experience of modeling?
It was awful.
Yeah.
It was awful. There were parts of it that were cool. Like the Converse commercial I did was really cool. We literally got paid, I think, $1,000 to run around in the snow and just have fun.
That's cool.
That was cool.
I mean, yeah, I've heard some cutthroat stories.
Yeah, dude, the Coke commercial. Like, I have a broken nose from when I was in high school. One of my friends headbutted me on accident.
Okay,
and it was just one of those things.
Yeah,
fuck it. I have like a deviated septum. I can only breathe out of one side of my nose, and when they hired me, it was because they thought my nose helped me look Russian. And then the photographer, the guy who was like running the shoot, he like grabs my nose in front of everyone. He's like, I did not pay $2,000 for a broken nose. And I was like, fuck this shit.
Jesus Christ.
Fuck this shit.
Wow.
I was so livid. And I wanted to shout back. And I really would have now. Oh my God, I would have fucking snapped. But at that time, I needed the money and I didn't want to fucking, lose it. So I just like took the fucking scrutiny in front of all these fucking people, and that's when I started making my exit on that shit. I mean,
of course,
if you have that fucking ego made of stone, and you can take people just destroying you on a regular basis, then modeling might be for you.
right. But I mean, it's fucked up, man, because there's people who get in those positions of power, and they'll just do that till the day they die. I mean, and especially in those kind of industries, anything in the entertainment, advertising, all of that, like there's nobody to tell them to stop as long as they produce the results.
Right.
And I that's like one of my least favorite parts of what we do is there's kind of
entertainment industry.
There's no checks, and there's nothing. You don't see that. Nobody sees behind the curtain.
No, for sure. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you're an unemployed person applying for a job.
Yep.
Yep. And they're going to choose whoever they think is going to work best for their company.
Absolutely.
But that entails, not just your professional past, and also entails you as a person and your talents and your branding and everything.
Yeah,
all
man.
Mixed into one.
I just want to see more of a sense of like corporate responsibility, even down to like the individuals in what we do. Like if you're a famous photographer, like I want those people to be held to some kind of standard, you know? It's like you, as opposed to treating people and just
you mean
shit, I'm, you know, it's
like the Terry, what's his name thing that just happened?
That asshole guy.
Yeah, things like that.
Yeah.
I think we're officially in that point.
No, we're getting there.
We got the court of public opinion in full fledged right now.
I say bring it on, man. I mean, I know it has its own issues, but I'm all for it.
Oh yeah, it's got its issues, but there are times where it really fucking matters.
Yeah.
There are times where you're like, yo, that shit would have never happened without our ability to communicate on a mass level to each other.
And then you start wondering, like, you know, with the Terry guy, whatever his name is, who is just like sexually harassing people. I keep wanting to say Terry Crews.
That's my boy. No.
But no, it was a photographer who was like sexually harassing women for a long time and was very famous as a photographer. And then I start to wonder, like, so has that been happening for like decades?
Oh, yeah.
You know, and what else don't we know about?
Dawn of time,
I'm just getting on a soapbox now, but to take it back to you.
No, you have a good point though. It's always happened. It's always been in our society. It's just, you know, imagine being in like the 40s and being like, this person, he sexually assaulted me. Like, pfft. Yeah.
Right.
All right.
And
me and the 6 people who just heard that ain't buying it.
Well, right.
You know, they can't reach out to a whole world.
Right. And sometimes you don't even know that that's wrong, you know, like if you get victimized, like if no one else is even saying like this is a problem, if
then
this
you're
happens.
Afraid to say it.
Yeah, you're afraid, or you're like, well, maybe this is normal, you know, maybe I'm weird.
Yeah, totally. No, it's that's good. That's good talks. That's its intention.
Well, and for you, I mean, it's good that even if you like didn't speak up, because obviously you're just working. All of us have had those experiences. You're young, you need money, you just work the job. It's good that you had that perspective to be like, this is not for me.
Yeah, I mean, like when I was working at restaurants and steakhouses, and like any job, I think I got about 18 jobs. I got fired from all of them.
Really?
I got fired from every single day job I ever had.
Just making ends meet.
Yeah, literally just I would know. I got so good at knowing when I was going to be fired, I would already be hired for a new job the day they would fire me.
Were you getting fired just because you were like sort of just doing it on the side?
Head was in the clouds, man. My head was in the clouds. I don't give a fuck if you want some extra butter with your sauteed steak. Fuck off. I don't care. I'm thinking about my own life. Of course, I know I'm there to make money and like, you know, like you said, make ends meet. But, you know, if you got bigger goals, then your head's always kind of there. You know,
of course,
like,
man.
As much as you want to focus on this, but like,
it's just funny to me that like two of your bosses, you probably became like your old band members, where they're just like, God, I gave him the schedule.
True, very true. Well, that's how I would get hired a lot. Is you know, really seeming like I loved this shit. You know, like, be like, yeah, I came from a farming background. I love cooking. I've always had a passion for restaurants. I actually delivered to restaurants for years and years. Be like, this is a fucking guy. Yeah.
Well, and you're very gregarious. Like, I've always felt like
gregarious. Can I get a definition on that one?
It's kind of just like friendly, like open, friendly, can talk to anybody.
Take gregarious.
You know, just like not the life of the party, but just kind of like that guy who's like, you kind of want to be near him. He seems like he's having a good time.
All right. Good on you, man.
Yeah. I mean, were you always that way? Do you think like giving the tours made you that way?
For sure.
You seem great around people.
For sure.
And that's something I feel terrible at personally. And so I'm always interested in people who can just walk into any room and make friends.
That's all anyone wants, man. It's all anyone wants. And that's what you want. Like, and sometimes it just takes someone saying, what up, you know?
Sure.
Like, I think one thing that is definitely an acquired skill with like being someone who does shows and has meet and greets,
right,
is in a meet and greet, you have all these people who are excited to meet you. And a lot of times they don't know what to say. Yep. So you got to just break that ice right off the bat.
I had to learn that, man. I mean, that's something.
You definitely got to learn it.
That's something the industry and like just being a musician, it brought me out of my shell, out of necessity. I had to. Like, I had to learn how to meet people
just sit
who
there and hit a blunt and play Mario Kart.
Well, and I don't even smoke weed, so it was even worse.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just sitting there being anxious. And even just like business-wise, you have to talk to promoters, all of that.
Everyone.
I had to learn all that shit. But for you,
all these people that you've looked up to for years are suddenly like, hey, let's hang out. You're like, what the fuck?
And maybe I'm just projecting onto you and thinking you're something you're not. But to me, I would always look at you and just be like, oh, it's easy for him. Like,
It is to a degree, but I'm not going to deny that I don't feel that anxiety. But I think the newest episode of South Park actually touched on that just perfectly, where Cartman, they told him that he had anxiety, and he was like, "You guys, I have anxiety. It's so hard for me. You have no idea what it's like." And then Kyle's like, Cartman, everyone has anxiety. Nobody likes being around other people. It's hard for all of us. Fucking fess up and just understand that, like, we're all in this together.
Yeah,
it was like the ultimate message of it. And I get it. There's someone who's like, oh, but you don't know what my anxiety is like.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you don't know what mine's like either. So it's
Absolutely.
just understand we all got it is all
Absolutely.
I'm saying.
But I will say, I think having the skill to kind of deal with it, however you deal with it, and be able to sort of make friends with people, be open to people, get that job, be an appealing candidate, whatever it is, that must have served you well. And
it's body language, man.
Yeah.
Body language is a huge part of it. And I think
that's true.
It's a hugely underdeveloped skill in our society right now because we're taught that our words are everything. But the words you say are only 5% of your way of communicating them. The fluctuation in your voice and the way you move your body, that says everything.
Absolutely.
Because if I said, hey, what's up? I'd be like, hey, what's up? Oh, hey, what's up? Hey, what's up?
Hey, what's up?
These are 4 completely different messages.
That last
all
one,
saying
I'm not
the same
sure
words.
how I felt about it. Yeah,
exactly. No, it's Satan,
right?
Ouija boards,
And so so you're going through these jobs one after the other, and at the same time, are you making music, trying to get people to hear the music?
Yeah, just trying, working 2 day jobs and then coming home being exhausted, just going straight to working on music, living in these rink-a-dink apartments. It was tough, but, I knew everything that I had learned about life was that if you want something, it's going to be tough. Not, like great risk, great reward.
So you were used to hard work, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And it
was a lot of like, listening to people, a lot of really listening to people and looking up people who have gone through hard times who have good messages about them, like Denzel Washington, Oprah Winfrey has great ones, all kinds of great, successful people in our industry. They've always gone through these hard times. Of course, you're going to have your Justin Biebers who, just like, boom, baby. Right. And that's fine, that's the 1% of
Absolutely.
99% of success.
And you look at that, I mean, I'd say he's gone through the hard time after.
Yeah.
Like
that is true.
It catches up to you, man, either way.
Oh, yeah, that is true.
Because I've seen people, there's yet another tangent.
Public
but
scrutiny is a different kind of pain.
Well, and if you're handed success before you're ready for it, that can be super dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've seen that destroy people.
Oh, yeah.
But,
dude, look at... You could go down the list.
Yeah.
There's a huge list.
Oh, yeah.
I mean...
People we know. I mean, absolutely. It's happened to a lot of people.
I love, what's his name? What's his name who was in the first Mummy?
Brandon Fraser?
Brandon Fraser. I think Brandon Fraser's like, he was a cool guy, but he just got fucking destroyed. And you see pictures of him now and he just looks so sad. It's like this guy was so successful and success didn't bring him happiness in the end,
Yeah. And it sometimes doesn't, man. And how did
ruins a lot of people's lives,
Absolutely,
actually.
Man. Absolutely.
It really does.
Yes.
I'd say at least half.
Well, and
over time, at least half.
When you and I know you are successful in what you're doing, but you and I know like crazy successful people, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like the top of the top. And those people, I mean, I look at their lives and I'm like, fuck, man, I don't know if I would be happy doing what they're doing. Like,
sure.
It looks fun, but like, man, that would be a lot to deal with.
Sure. Could you imagine like just wanting to go get a cup of coffee and it turns into a meet and greet and then you have to call your bodyguard just to get put in a car and get back to your home?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
That's crazy, man.
It's nuts. Well, and how did you start connecting with anyone in this scene? Like, who were the first people you sort of made connections with, or anyone that just sort of like helped set you on the path?
The first person to really give me a chance was my original manager, Travis Hayden. He found my music through me one night going to a party, and there was this girl there who she was like, so what do you do? I was like, I make music. She's like, send it to me. I sent it to her, And without telling me, she sent it over to him. And then one day I just get an email from this guy named Travis who works at Dexstar.
Yeah, he's at Dexstar now, right?
Yeah.
I was about to say, I talked to him years ago about management shit. I like that guy.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Yeah.
And he opened a lot of doors for me. And my first time getting my music put out to someone who, you know, I really recognize as an artist was on OWSLA. When OWSLA very, very first came out, they had a Free Treats compilation. And he got my song on there. They liked it. And that was when I very first started, like, you know, the only shitty part was when, like, I'd go to, like, Hard Summer by myself.
Yeah.
And go backstage. And then and I have, like, an all-access pass to go meet these people. This was before I ever, like, snuck in, which I would do all the time.
Sure.
And try to meet people. But, and it was just really nerve-wracking, you know, like, walking up to fucking Sonny and just be like, hi, I'm David. You put my music on your label. He's, oh, dude, that was a cool song, man. It's like,
yeah. Now what?
you know.
Now what happens?
But yeah, like that's where I started developing relationships. But where I really saw a big change was this was after I had lost all my money and lost all my jobs, and I had to move back to Arizona and start over again.
Okay.
And then I drove all the way back out, did the whole fucking thing over again.
And when you went back, did you think it was over, or did you think,
yeah.
like, I'm going to come back even stronger?
For a couple days, I was like, damn it, I fucking blew it. I fucking went out there. I gave it my all. I tried my best. And then as I'm thinking I gave it my all, I tried my best, the smarter part of me that was also there was like, I remember you going out and partying like every night, bro. You wasted a lot of money on booze and bud and all that shit.
Yep.
And then that's where I was like, you're right, I didn't give it my best. And then I fucking saved up. I started changing my attitude on it. And then I went out and I tried again. And this time I didn't fucking party.
Yep.
I would go out once in a while medicinally, just so I could get that out of my system. You know, just hang out with my friends,
around
have fun,
yeah.
be around humans. Because if you seclude yourself, your creativity will never fucking flourish.
Absolutely.
You get fucking lonely. You turn into a hermit. You start living in your own little echo chamber of ideas.
Oh, yeah, man.
You're not getting
you
anything
lose perspective on what's good and what's not good. Yeah, it's tough.
Exactly. But I digress. It was when I came out the second time was when I got my I got a job doing like writing music for my boy Static Revenger. He brought me on as like someone who would like help come up with like, you know, musical concepts and things like this.
Production work, all that.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. And he introduced me to Sullivan King, who was going to Icon, and this was the first I'd ever heard of Icon Collective.
Right.
I was like, oh, cool. This guy does what? He's like, he's released on Bygore and all this shit. And I'm like, oh fuck, like this is like someone who, you know, knows what it's like to get the first step and like actually start moving forward. And then Sully introduced me to like Jaws and Twitch and Slander and all of them, start hanging out at Icon, just being a guest. And I never went to Icon. A lot of people think I went to Icon, but I just hung out there all the time.
Sure.
I was just a hang-arounder.
Because that group was kind of going through Icon at the time. Yeah.
But it was cool. It was really cool. That was when I started finally flourishing my art, was being around people who were like-minded and wanted the same goal.
That's such a huge, I love that you just said that, because that anytime anyone asks me, I will say almost verbatim what you just said. It's like you have to find the like-minded people, even at any level. Like they don't have to be popping off.
Exactly.
It just you have to find a community that you have the similar goals. You know,
precisely, dude. That has reigned true for eons and eons, and it always will. Because if you hang around someone who just isn't as inspired, doesn't have that drive, you know, even if they're passionate about what they do, it's not the same as you. Like say, like a filmmaker and a musician live in the same building. If they are always passionate about what they want and they just inspire each other through how much they want their goals, that is even better than hanging around someone who wants exactly what you want and isn't even trying.
Dude, it's when I first moved to Chicago, which is where I came up and built my whole career and all that, I had no reason to go there except that I knew there were people there doing what I wanted to be doing. They were friends of mine. I just didn't know where else to be because I didn't know how to do it. So I was like, well, if they're trying to do it, we could probably figure it out, you know?
It's like having a map with no directions on it.
But there was
where do I
no
even go from
further
here?
thought than that. I was just like, that's where they are, so I got to be there, you know?
Yeah.
And it all goes from there. And so for you then, you've got a song out with OWSLA, you've made connections with a community. How does it sort of progress? Like, were you playing any shows at this time?
Yeah. They were bad, man.
Yeah.
Did some bad shows.
That's good. I think you got to play bad shows to start.
You do, especially in the beginning. You can't expect your first show to just be like this fucking 5,000 capacity flawless set with fucking, you know, CO2 and fireworks. It's rarely, like there's like a 0.1% of people who get that.
And the people who do, it goes back to what we were saying. If that's you, you're going to get disappointed later on.
Yeah,
you know?
You're starting with that shit. That's like starting out with your steak and finishing with bread, you know? Oh my God, I had some bad ones. So I learned how to DJ by getting booked.
Yep.
So I never had decks. I just would get booked, you know, through the music that I wrote. They're like, oh, I mean, the guy can write music. He can clearly DJ, right? Wrong.
Yeah, and I'm sure you were being like, oh, yeah, of course, I'll be there.
Yeah,
Sounds great.
And then I show up. I remember one that was one of my most embarrassing was it was with Zomboy, Bear Noise, DJ Precept, and myself, and Heroes and Villains.
Oh, yeah, shout out to Heroes and Villains.
Yeah,
Love that guy.
And so after Zomboy went on, then it was Heroes and Villains. And then I was going to close out the night. I was doing the 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. slot, the everyone get out slot.
Yeah.
And I thought I knew what I was doing. And so first I tell the guy, I forget which one of them was up there at the time, but I asked him, I was like, hey, can you say, make some noise for Ghastly? You know, like let him know my name. He's like, all right, sure, you know, no problem, you know, like I'll extend an olive branch. He was nice enough to do it.
Sure.
And so at the end of his set, he's like, everybody make some noise for Ghastly. Like, yeah. And so I press play on my first song. It's building up. It's almost there. And then I get so excited, I fucking hit stop. I fucking stop.
Yeah.
And I just hear him behind me. Bah! Just bust out laughing. The whole crowd is just giving me this fucking glare. They're like, what the fuck, bro?
What is this?
Like, you just got this introduction, fucking huge buildup. And I did that probably 5 more times.
Oh, that's amazing.
I could mix like a fucking blender on steroids and space broken apart. It just was not working out, man.
Yeah.
And then it actually got so bad that the fucking, I think, I forget who it was, but it was at Avalon. It was, I think it was, anyway. They came up to me and they're like, hey, we're just going to go ahead and close it down. Yeah, we're just going to go ahead and ask you to just stop the music.
Yes.
I had like 15 minutes left, but they're like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, you did great.
A lot of people already left because of you. You can just go ahead and end it. I was like, God damn it.
That's like you were the Andy Kaufman of DJs. Man.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
Oh my God. Yeah. So it took all these fuck ups over and over and over and over and over and over. And then finally I had some friends who had CDJs, and then I started finally understanding.
Well, and you eventually, I mean, you must have gotten decent because you got some like residencies around town.
Yeah.
Like you ended up playing a bunch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Locally.
That's when it started working. And yeah, that was a huge thing for me was getting that residency at Exchange. That helped me a lot. Well, started as a promoter, you know.
Okay, yeah.
I was just hustling flyers and VIP tickets and bottle service.
Side jobs, staying involved.
Oh yeah. But I was still, you know, doing my best. You know, I did a lot of work in that. That's why anytime someone comes up, they're like, hey, I'm a promoter. I'm like, I fucking appreciate you, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I know what you do.
Oh, dude, that's one of the hardest, least forgiving jobs.
It's a tough job. It really is. And so I worked from that to like gallery resident, which is like, you know, the downstairs side room for like anyone who just wants to wobble around a little bit and not be around a bunch of people. And then I worked my way up and then eventually had my own shows there and so on and so forth.
That's so cool, man. And it's awesome that you were able to kind of just build that into eventually having your own shows, because I think I was talking to Dylan, to Party Favor, about this, because he was a resident guy in LA for years.
he was a resident house for a long time.
And I think it can be, and I was a resident in Chicago for a long time too, and it can be hard to like step out of being a resident into being seen as just an artist or a headliner or whatever you want to call it. And it's awesome that you were able to kind of just build that into what would become, Ghastly, the artist.
That's what it's a lot of residents, it depends on what you really, really, really want. Like, do you really want to, like put in like 10,000 times more effort and, move on to having your own shows? And I'm sure they all do, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And we all got our own lives. Who knows what they got,
Once you're a resident, there can be that perception too that like, oh, well, he's a resident. He can't we can't see him as a headliner,
Well, that's where music comes into play, my friend.
Well,
that's where writing music comes into play. Because when you start playing your own music at your residencies, then people are like, that was a really great set. And it's like, I have confirmation. It works. I can try this.
And for you, I mean, obviously you were doing that all along. You put out Crank That with OWSLA, which I think was kind of the first time a lot of people were suddenly...
that was definitely, big up to OWSLA for that. That was definitely the first time where I started seeing people tweet at me. They're like, I like Ghastly. And I was like, what? Me?
What? Yeah.
You didn't have to tweet that, Right. Like, who told you to do that?
and so, I mean, was that kind of like a game-changing moment? Did that happen and then all of a sudden you felt like things were sort of quickly on another level?
You know what it reminded me of was my old band Irish Front. When I remember we wrote a song called Boom Snap Clap, and about 5 days later we had like over like 50,000 friend requests on MySpace, and we were like, what the fuck? Like, is this a glitch or something? It was like, no, people were really liking it. And that is exactly what it felt like. Like, it worked.
Yeah.
So it's like almost a eureka feeling.
Yeah, that's so cool, man. And so, were there any other moments past that? Like, to me, it just seems like you've been on this trajectory, right? And it's been going up and up, but I guess I don't know what those other big moments would be. Like, what do you look back and remember and think like, oh, this was a key moment, or like, I'm really grateful this happened when it did?
I think the first one that came to mind just from saying that was when I played EDC for the first time, because I had gone to EDC for years. For many years, I had gone to EDC, just like partying, just enjoying and getting inspired by the music. And then, when I have someone that I work with say, hey, you're playing EDC on this day, it's like, wait, I don't have to buy a ticket.
Right. You'll just let me in?
They're just going to let me in. Exactly. That there's,
those are big moments.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I think that's just something that happens throughout every career. Every single stepping stone is, worthy of being celebrated, just as long as you don't take it as enough.
Yeah.
Like be always content, but never satisfied.
I love that. I love that. And I think about, if I think about it and think about how I've sort of seen you, the first time we ever met was when we were
on the bus.
Yeah, on the bus tour with the Brills tour.
And Party.
And man, that was so much fun.
Oh, so
I still
fun.
think about that tour. It was so fun.
Yeah, same.
And I remember from the beginning, because I was on the beginning of that tour, and we first met, I think, the first night of that tour.
Yeah.
And it was me, then you, then Party Favorite, then Brills. And at the time, that seemed like very sensible, whatever. And by the end of that tour, which was several months later, it made Brills look like really smart. All the people were popping off, and then it was like, Ghastly is on this tour. Like, to me, I could see public perception.
It was a great lineup,
even
sure.
in those few months, it was like your public perception had grown bigger,
Yeah, it was crazy.
And maybe part of it is just like hitting the road and just getting in front of people's eyes.
For sure.
But
absolutely.
In that era, I was like, man, he is really going off right now.
A lot of artists, I feel, have failed to acknowledge that a huge part of their fan base doesn't interact with them online. Huge parts of your fan base love you, but they just are too busy with their own lives to, like and favorite all your shit and respond to all your shit.
Yes,
they love you.
100%.
And I'm that way with almost every artist I like. Like, literally, I think 95% of the artists I like. And don't get me wrong, like, that shit helps. Like, whenever someone reaches out and they're like, I love your shit, like, that helps. That gives you morale. That,
right.
Like, this is, I'm helping people.
Yep.
But there's so many people that you have changed their lives and you'll never know.
Oh yeah, and that's the whole thing. It's the like IRL versus URL thing, right? Where it's people get so caught up in how their numbers are doing or how much engagement they have, but that doesn't always translate into the real world.
It really doesn't.
And if you get in front of people physically and make a human connection, they will remember that shit for the rest of their lives.
Oh yeah, dude.
You know?
I know artists who get like hundreds of thousands of interactions with every single post, and they can bring in like maybe 200 people to a local venue.
Yep.
It's crazy.
It goes back to that
really
band mentality,
it's
man.
Crazy.
Yeah. I love that you said that. And you know what I remember from that bus tour too? It was like the first night, I think we started in, I don't know, upstate New York somewhere. It was cold. And I think your flight was delayed or something. I remember I'm not even sure if you got to play that night. Like you got there super late. Maybe you got there like right before
I got to go on for 30 minutes after Brills into the big group set.
Oh, right. That's what it was. Yeah. And so I was just like, oh, where is this guy? I knew I was going to be living with this guy for another month or something. And all the rest of us, like, we were just like, hey, man, what's up? This will be cool, blah, blah. And this is my memory, so I don't know if this is accurate, but in my memory, you just came in like this crazy force of energy and just like rampaged through the whole thing. Not in a bad way, but like you just like took the energy of what this was going to be and like flipped it on its head. And I was like, okay.
That's pretty funny, man.
Here we go.
I definitely I loved instigating, nonsense. Yeah. I was all about it.
Even just like shooting those videos that we were shooting that whole tour.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
Those were great.
Oh, fuck, man.
Oh, my God. We did so much rambunctious shit.
I had so much fun on that tour. And I still remember, too, I don't know why this always stuck with me, but the night I was leaving the tour, and I'm sure you don't remember this, but you took me aside and you were like, man, like, I'm really glad this was super fun. Like at the start of it. Yeah, you told me.
Yes, I remember this very clear.
Wait, what do you think you told me?
I remember thinking that you were too busy and you were working on your shit, and you would go out and you never hung out with us in the van. I'm like, or in the bus. I'm like, dude, I want Willy to fucking like kick it with us, man. Like I want to have fun and like do rambunctious shit. And I was just like, yo, at the beginning I thought that you didn't like us or whatever. Like you didn't even want to hang out with us. But, it was just you were so committed to what you were doing, which I failed to see at the time. You were working on your shit.
I mean, I will take that because that makes me look great. But
you were always off with your laptop and your headphones. I mean, you weren't watching hentai.
No, I wasn't. I was working, but it was also just my personality. Like, it takes me a while to warm up. Like, I'm just more introverted.
For sure.
But yeah, that's basically my memory too. And that meant a lot to me at the time because I felt the same way. But to have somebody just be like, yeah, this was fun. Like, I always think that's important, man, in anything we do, because our lives, we're running around. We see people.
To just be honest.
Yeah, be honest. And like also kind of just like make a point of being like, this is a moment. Let's plant a flag for a minute and acknowledge this cool shit that's happening.
Oh, yeah.
We like when I walked in, you were like, oh, it's been a year since I've seen you. And
I know. It's
I was
crazy,
like,
man.
fuck, it has? Like, then I felt really bad. And I was like, oh, I'm a bad friend.
No, there's nothing to feel bad about it.
That's
man.
all of us, right?
Yeah.
We're all running around. We barely see anybody. And so just the fact that you took that time and was like, hey, this was a cool moment. Like, that meant a lot to me. And I try to do that all the time, man. And so for you, since then, I mean, you've gone on to crazy things, man. You've been around the world a million times. You mentioned it already. You put out an album that I want to at least touch on.
Sure.
I mean, what was that process like? What was the thought process like? Why even put out an album?
Honestly, it was more than anything. It was just like it felt like something that I had to do for myself more than anything else. Like to do a full body of work and say this is a full expression. And obviously it's so much harder to push an album today's day and age. And, having a single and then just putting all of the advertising behind that is so much easier. But I really wanted to do like a big expression and really, tell a story and show all sides of like what I like to do, from the pretty stuff to the angry stuff to the house stuff to the more bass influence stuff. And just, do it. I had to get it off the list. It was driving me up the wall not being able to put out a body of work. And I understand that, like, if I had released each one of those as a single, I would still be releasing them.
Yeah.
And that would have been great. But
Although you'd probably be sick of them by now.
Exactly. Oh man, I mean, I as far as playing them live,
Yeah.
I mean.
Well,
Yeah,
that's the thing.
The
for
only time
everybody, right?
the only time I can hear them is live.
Yeah.
And then like I'll go to a house party and they'll try to play my music. I'm like, turn that shit
Yeah.
off. Right,
Yeah.
like, dude, why don't you don't like your own music? And
The
it's like,
worst.
dude,
It's like, well, it's not that I don't like it, but
let me ask you this: do you want to eat Panda Express every fucking day, every
Right.
fucking meal? No, you like it once in a while,
Yeah.
right? Yes. Well,
yeah, you eat it every day, you're gonna get diarrhea. And
yeah,
and that was self-released, right?
Yeah.
And talk about that a little bit. You know, you started off with OWSLA, a big influential label in our little niche, our little corner of the world. And talk about going from, you know, that stamp, that team, to then being on your own and doing it independently.
Well, I mean, I've always kind of bounced between a lot of them. Like I started, I think
That's
with
true.
like Dim Mac, Matt Decent, Bygore, OWSLA. I've done a lot of different releases on a lot. Echelon with EDM.com. Done a lot of different label releases, but OWSLA was one that I always like. My branding really resonated with, and a lot of my bigger songs had come out on that one.
Right.
Like "Fuck What You Think," "Crank It," blah blah blah. And so I just wanted to do something on my own for a while. It was nothing against anyone. It was literally just like I just want to release my own music for a while and control my own schedule because.
Yeah.
As much as I love working with labels, you do have to work with their schedule.
Yep.
It's a team effort.
Yep.
Whereas, if you're just like, I want this to come out on this day, they're like, word. You know?
It's interesting, man, to hear you talk about it because it makes me think of it's all these themes we've already talked about. It when you were in the band, you didn't have the control over it. It works for a while, and then you want to pull it back and have the control again. It's always a push-pull cycle, right?
Well, it's like YouTubers too. A lot of YouTubers are with these agencies that write their scripts, help them film their videos, edit their videos, and then you see the YouTubers who stray away from that and they start doing their own thing, and you can tell that they're not only having more fun doing it, but they're doing it more passionately because they're in control. When you're in full control, it just don't get me wrong, having a team can be a very, very quintessential asset. But sometimes you just got to go your own way to develop your own skill.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I think what's hard about that is recognizing that moment and acting on it, because it's always scary to step away from what you know into something you don't know, right?
Oh, for sure.
Every
time.
But it seems like you've done that a bunch of times. Like,
that's the fun of it, man. I mean,
so it's fun for you
when you
in a
jump
way,
off the
right?
diving board, of course, it's scary. But it's fun.
Well, it seems like that's how you look at a lot of this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like I think of you as generally having a optimistic outlook,
I'd say I'm mostly optimistic. I definitely, we already touched, we all get our sad moments, but the majority of my life is spent happy, I would say.
That's amazing. I mean, I think just that, man. Is that something you have to work at?
Yes, it's a talent. It's a skill that you have to work on because you can't just expect to feel happy all the time. You have to know how to acknowledge. Like if you feel sad, that's a deeper part of you trying to tell you there's something wrong.
Yeah.
And a lot of people fight it, whether it be through just their thoughts or with drugs or alcohol or anything, just to ignore it. All they're doing is putting a blanket over weeds. The weeds are going to keep growing.
Yep.
You got to fucking assess the problem and really reflect and figure out what's bothering you. Once you figure that out, solve it. Boom.
What does that look like for you? Like, how do you take care of yourself? How do you keep yourself in a good mental state when everything's moving at such a crazy pace?
I'd say it honestly is just like meditation, man. Meditation is something I've definitely practiced a lot more in my recent years. And morning routine, and I cannot stress that enough. Your fucking morning routine is
I'm
the
big on that.
most important part of your day. And a lot of people don't know that. There's so many fucking things we don't teach people in school that are so important. Body language, how you start your day, blah, 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 all this shit. Like, how you start your day defines your whole day. I've gotten to the point where I wake up at 7 a.m. every day now, and I feel great.
Oh, it's the best.
And
I'm more of an 8 a.m., but
yeah.
it's the best.
And you're like, holy shit, like 4 hours have gone by and it's not even 1 yet. Yeah. What's going on,
Yeah, man. I don't know when that flipped. I could only work at night. I would stay up all night. I'd sleep half the day. And then a switch flipped, man. And now it's like, I feel like such a piece of shit if I sleep in late.
Yeah.
I can't get anything done.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, it's real, man. It's like if you start your day by laying in bed for an extra 2 hours, staring at your phone with one eye open, scrolling through Instagram, comparing yourself to people, how do you think that sets the tone for your whole day?
Okay, and if you start or end your day by looking at your phone, I have a big issue with that.
Yeah, it's definitely unhealthy.
It's super unhealthy. And I do it sometimes, don't get me wrong, but it's really unhealthy. I think the routine's big. I think getting up early is big. And for you, like, where do you want this to go now? Like, we've been talking about this whole journey. You've got the album out. You went on a crazy tour for it. I think just generally the project is doing well, right?
Yeah, I'm very happy with it.
Yeah. And so where does it go from now? Like, do you think about another album? Like, is that in your head now? Like, that you want to keep it on that level? Or, where do you want to take it going forward?
I think where I want to go is just wherever my bliss takes me, man. Like, I'm at a point where I've found, having a plan is always good, but letting it evolve into whatever it wants is how all of this has ever come into fruition in the first place. Like, I always had a plan, but I never. So, like, as I see it now, I'm just moving with the flow. I honestly just, like, I'm excited about the future. And, like, I know that I'm probably not going to do this into my 60s.
Yeah.
So I do have plans there, where I want to do, I would eventually, we're talking long term.
Yeah.
I would really, really like to eventually start, making films. This has always been a big passion of mine. Something I've never made too public. I think the most public I've ever gotten with it was my most recent music video.
Okay.
Which is a lot like a little short horror movie.
And how involved? I assume you're very involved
in every
with
way, from the character development, costume design, the script, everything. I was there directing. I even edited a majority of it.
Awesome.
I did all of the audio engineering on it. And like, there's parts where the music stops, and then, like, we'll have this, like, horror sequence where we, like, build up to a jump scare.
Sick.
So, like, I was fully involved in all that, and developing a story, and that's just something I've always liked doing. Secretly on the side in my spare time. So that would be where that's, like, ultimate goal.
Yeah.
Be able to make money as, like, a 60-year-old director. That would be fucking awesome.
That'd be amazing.
But you just gotta.
But
believe in it.
But like you said, man, even if that doesn't become your life, I think the pursuit of that you'll get something. You'll get something cool out of it.
Because my bronze medal, if that isn't it, would be to do like scores.
Yeah,
scores or Foley artists or anything like that.
Sure. Well, and even along the way, I mean, I think it's the more involved an artist gets in all facets, the better it's going to turn out, right? Like, if you have a vision for it, you mentioned earlier you learned to draw like while not paying attention in college.
Yeah.
But then that's another thing you brought into the project that you're doing now, and it's all these little pieces of you that you can kind of, fold back into what you're trying to do as an artist.
Totally.
Like,
you got to use what you got. If you understand something, you got to apply it in some way.
100%.
Like, here you are doing a podcast. You know how to communicate with people, and this is helping you in so many ways.
It's so inspiring to me to do this, man. Yeah, I get a lot out of it.
Yeah,
for sure.
I love it. It's really entertaining, and it's good shit.
Oh, thank you, buddy.
Yeah, man.
It's like I look at Sammy again, who's now LS Dream. And he's now editing all of his own visuals and, like, doing his own video stuff. And I thought,
that shit's fun, man.
It's so cool. And you see it with the new project. Like, people are connecting with it, I think, in a different way because they can tell all of it. It's like his whole being is in it,
Yeah.
And I just, the same for you. Like, I'm excited to see this video now. Like, I feel like just those moments of connection can be really powerful.
Oh, yeah.
And what does the short term look like? Like, what should people be looking out for?
I got an EP coming out pretty soon. It's like I did this little collection of weird bass songs. That's gonna come out. Just gonna make it an EP because I'm so ADD, man. I can't. I gotta write every style because if I like something, I want to make it, and
But I liked that you never got too stuck in one genre.
Yeah, I mean, like, I know I'm primarily known as, like, bass house and stuff, but, like, I love, like, LSD and We Might Fall are some of my most popular songs, which is funny because, like, that's only, like, maybe 15% of my set,
right.
Is songs that sound like that.
Yeah.
The majority of it is,
Yeah, right. But I mean, those songs to me, like when I heard those songs, I was like, okay, like that's another dimension. I think you do have a good ear for pop sounds, you know, and like melodies and all of that, like things people wouldn't necessarily put at the top of like what they love about Ghastly.
Sure.
But I think being able to just, you know, throw those off is so valuable.
Yeah.
You know,
well, I mean, I like to write music and play my sets the same way I like to listen to Spotify. I like to, you know, just one after the other, change it up, new song, new
you're
style,
laying
new song,
out
new
breadcrumbs,
style.
right? So that if you want to go do some other sound in the future,
sure.
you're like, well, look, I set it up for this.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Well, I mean, there's so many artists doing that at this point. I feel like everyone should feel free to do whatever they want, honestly. Yeah. If you're passionate about it, if you really like it, don't do it because it's popular. Do it because you like it,
right?
You know, and like I have not made a single song in any genre that I don't really, really, really like.
Yeah.
Or otherwise, I would have been lying to myself, and it would sound awful. It wouldn't have done well.
Are you still just having a blast with it? Like tour life, all of that? Like
yeah, you know, it gets fucking super exhausting sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I think the last one that really pinched my butt was fucking going to China, doing this Asia run where we did. I think we did like 30 flights in 13 days and like 12 shows. It was ridiculous. I was just exhausted going from, you know, crisscrossing countries and and when I finally got home, I was down for like 4 days.
Yeah.
Just trying to like figure out how to sleep again.
Yeah, of course.
I would stay up for 2 days and then sleep for 2 days. And then finally I started feeling normal again. They're like, all right, it's time to go back on tour. Like, okay.
Fuck.
This is going to be fun. Now I get to come back and do it all over again.
Yeah.
Die again.
I mean, have you figured out how to, as best as possible, sort of deal with those situations?
Like we were just talking about, man, the morning ritual has been changing it. The way you go to sleep and the way you wake up, it's like a huge focus for me now. You know,
are you picking your spots as far as partying these days? Like,
how do you mean?
Well, like for me, when I started off, like it was just a fucking fun house. Like you could just go every single night, party, drink. Like, you know, you could do whatever you wanted because you weren't really anticipating the next week of flights or whatever.
Yeah.
But you do it long enough and you realize like, okay.
You have to maintain your morale.
Yeah, somehow.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I party with locals all the time.
Well, that's I know you do.
I go to the after parties a lot because I like to meet the people and like, you know, and I also just like getting to know, you know, what people who come to my shows are like, you know? I like really, really getting to know them because, you know, that first like couple minutes where it's like after the show, it's like, hey, how are you? And then you say bye right after. You don't really get to know somebody.
Yeah, it's true.
But I love going to. I actually just recently went to one after the show with Excision at Thunderdome, and I went to these people's house after, and they had a guy there. They had two guys there who were tattoo artists. And I was like, oh, you guys have your gun with you? And they're like, no. I was like, can you please get it? They're like, no. And I was like, please. They're like, okay, we do have it with us. I was like, yes. And then I got him to do this pentagram on my foot here.
Oh, wow.
It doesn't look the best because we were all pretty lit.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
But then where it really got bad is when they handed the gun to me, and I tried to write "Satan loves me" on my calf.
Oh God!
And it ended up looking like it's more my heel, but it ended up looking like Satixin two of me. It's like SATIXN number 2 half of an O / ES me.
This is like a drunk text that you wrote on your skin.
On my skin, exactly. Yeah.
Oh man.
But you know, I don't fuck around with regrets.
Yeah.
I really don't. And so the only thing that bummed me out about it was my mom was like, David, how could you?
Sure, of
You're
course.
breaking my heart. Like, Mom, you know I don't believe in ground people. It's okay. Like,
are the parents good with the lifestyle, the career now?
Yeah, man.
Seeing the success,
like,
happy.
After things worked out, you know, they're like, all right, you were correct. Good shit. You know, that was actually one of my biggest goals was to hear my pop say he was proud. That was one of my biggest ones. And when he said that, I was like, boom, shakalaka, motherfucker.
Yeah, that is one of those things where you're like, I'm good for life after that.
Yeah, I was
you know?
like, thanks. You know, that was cool. And then with it all, I've been able to like invest in the farm and give back to my parents, and that's more rewarding than anything, man. That feels great.
Just hearing you say that, man, makes me feel good. That's so dope.
Hell yeah.
This has been awesome, man. Like, I love you. I could keep talking for hours,
yeah.
but I'm going to get out of your hair. Before we go, is there anything we didn't cover? Anything you want to get out there? You know, something people should be looking out for? Whatever you want to say. If not, that's totally fine,
off
too.
the whim, honestly, I feel like we really, we delved into a lot of really important topics and, you know, had a lot of really funny moments. I hope a lot of people out there right now are resonating with, and hopefully you took something valuable and worth keeping. I just want to say I fucking love you guys. And I love you, Willy. And
I love you too, buddy.
Thanks for having me on. It was a fucking blast.
It's good to see you, dude.
Hell yeah, brother.
Last question. I ask this at the end of each one. We've talked about a few of these moments already, so you can go back if you need to. But it's the first thing that comes into your head. You don't have to think about it too hard. A time in your life, it could be any time, when you were a kid or recently, whatever, when music in a moment really deeply affected you. And that could be like changed the way you thought about something or gave you goosebumps or whatever it is. Just the first thing that pops into your head.
I will name one. I'm going to give you a weird one just because we already named a bunch of other ones. You remember the movie Babe?
Yes.
You remember at the end with the fucking little mice sing?
Yes, actually.
What song was it that they sang?
That might be too far for me, but
me
I do remember them singing.
Give me 1 second.
It was like the credits sequence,
yeah,
right?
It's at the end. It's at the end.
Yeah.
It's at the very end.
Yeah.
Babe,
mice
singing. Yes. Yes.
Hey.
I was like, yo, that pitch, that voice, I'd never heard it like that high pitched voice, which is so important. And yeah, no, that shit fucking inspired me. I was like, if I had, and I was like, fuck yeah, so good. That shit changed me as a kid. No
really?
joke. Yeah.
That's so funny, man.
I don't know why, but
just
I was
hearing
so young.
the pitched up voices, maybe.
Exactly, which is such a staple in our music.
Right.
Especially today, you know, hearing a voice pitched up, you know, the Chipmunks clearly capitalized on it first.
Dude.
But hearing that song, that version of it made me love it now.
I love that you took it there because it's all about those early seeds that get planted and then you come back and you're like, why do I like this? Why does this appeal to me? Man, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I couldn't have asked for a better story, man.
Hell yeah.
This has been awesome, man.
Much love, brother.
All right, man.
Much love.
Peace. All right, that's the show. Shout out to Ghastly. So fun to see you, man. I just had a blast doing that one. For everybody out there listening, I hope you enjoyed hearing this as much as I did making it. Don't forget, Ghastly's new track with G-Rex called Heretic is out right now. Keep your eyes peeled for his new EP that's going to be coming soon. He's on tour. Follow him. The links to all of that are in the description of this episode. My name is Willy Joy. You can also keep up with me at Willy Joy or at BackToBackPod on all social media, or shoot me an email. backtobackpod@gmail.com is the address. Welcome to January. Welcome to 2019. We are already off to the races. I hope everybody out there is doing well. Hope you're settling back into regular life. And that's it, man. I'm here for you. Whatever you need, just let me know, and I'll talk to you next week. For Back to Back, this is Willy Joy. Peace.